The American dream, glorified by pop culture and sown deep into the minds of people, has drawn many to the United States for decades. But that dream is getting a reality check and seems like it doesn't hold the same appeal anymore. For some, the real dream now lies deeper, in their roots, in heritage, and in identity. Many African Americans are now looking beyond the US, packing their bags and heading home, to Africa. Why? To reconnect, to feel accepted, and to reclaim their heritage. 38-year-old American YouTuber Austin Holloman is one of them. He moved to Kenya 9 months ago. He says the US felt broken to him, but on the other hand, Kenya feels warm, welcoming, and complete.
So I picked Kenya because I feel the safest here. People look similar to me, or you could say they look like me. It's not like going to Europe or going to some Latin American countries where there aren't that many black people. And I think God just wants me here. It feels like I'm at home, like I fit in here.
And it's not just about feelings. Politics is also pushing this change. Holloman says America's global image is not what it used to be. And with Donald Trump's return, he is worried what comes next.
He's creating global tension. So new countries are making it harder for Americans to even travel or to be a nomad in different countries. Like in Namibia, they deported Americans and they added new visa restrictions when before you could just fly right in. So Trump may not be the best solution for expats.
Holloman is not alone. Meet Kenneth Harris. He is an ex-military veteran.
They said it would never happen. That African Americans, after centuries of building America, shaping its culture, its music, its innovation, would never leave the United States. But it's happening. Right now, across airports from Atlanta to Los Angeles, thousands of black families are boarding one-way flights to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa. Not for vacation, but for good. In less than a decade, over 300,000 African Americans have left the U.S. behind permanently. That's not a statistic. That's an exodus. Why? Because the American dream they were promised has quietly turned into an illusion, while a new dream, one once thought impossible, is taking shape across the Atlantic. You see, this story isn't just about migration. It's about transformation. It's about people who grew up in the so-called land of freedom realizing that real freedom might exist somewhere else. For many, the breaking point wasn't sudden. It built over years. The endless grind, the student debt, the inflation that eats away at savings, the racial profiling, the fear that no matter how hard you work, the system was never designed for you to win. And then they saw Africa. Not the Africa shown in decades of negative headlines, but the real Africa. A continent building the world's fastest growing cities. A continent rich with opportunity, technology, and potential. A continent where they aren't minorities, they're home. Across TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, the movement has gone viral. Americans showing off their new lives in Ghanaian villas, Nigerian tech offices, Rwandan coffee farms. Videos captioned, "I left the U.S., and I've never been happier." It's more than a trend, it's a shift in global identity. Because when hundreds of thousands of African Americans decide to abandon the U.S. for Africa, the world takes notice. Economists call it reverse migration. Sociologists call it reconnection. But for those who've made the move, it's something much deeper. It's healing generational wounds and building new legacies. And it's not just emotion driving this wave. It's data. Africa's economy is projected to grow faster than any other continent. Tech investment is exploding. Housing is affordable. And most importantly, the feeling of belonging is priceless. This is the story of why they left, what they found, and how this mass migration could reshape both America and Africa forever. Because when the descendants of a people once forced to leave return by choice, that's not just history coming full circle, that's destiny rewriting itself. This is the story of the Great Return. Something extraordinary is happening. Across airports in Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa, flights from New York, Atlanta, and Los Angeles are landing full, not with tourists, but with returnees. They are teachers, nurses, engineers, filmmakers, and tech founders. African Americans who have decided that the American dream no longer belongs to them, and that their future lies on the continent their ancestors were taken from centuries ago. Since 2018, over 300,000 African Americans have relocated to Africa. That's the largest reverse migration in modern U.S. history. Why? Because while America faces record inequality, racial tension, and economic uncertainty, Africa is rising fast. For the first time in generations, the idea of going back home isn't symbolic, it's practical. Jobs, affordable living, and cultural belonging are pulling thousands across the Atlantic. In Accra, communities like Little Harlem now host American families who sold everything to start over. In Lagos, tech workers from Silicon Valley are joining Nigeria's booming fintech scene. And in Cape Town, artists from Chicago and New York are finding creative freedom they say they never had in the United States. It's not just migration, it's transformation. A story of identity, economics, and hope colliding at the center of a global shift. To understand this movement, we need to start where it began, in America. In 2025, the U.S. faces an affordability crisis. Home prices are unreachable, healthcare costs keep climbing, and major cities have become battlegrounds of economic survival. Unemployment among college-educated young adults is at its highest since 2008. Student debt exceeds $2 trillion. And even those with good jobs say they feel trapped, working endlessly just to stay afloat. For African Americans, the picture is even starker. Despite progress, the median black household still earns less than 60% of a white household. Wealth inequality hasn't narrowed in 40 years. Add to that police violence, racial profiling, and political division, and the feeling of alienation grows. When surveys asked, "Would you move abroad if you could?" over 40% of African Americans under 35 said yes. The dream of belonging and safety has become harder to find at home. That's when Africa re-entered the conversation. Across social media, something powerful began spreading. Videos of black families walking the beaches of Ghana, buying homes in Rwanda, starting farms in Sierra Leone. What was once a distant dream became real. Governments took notice. Ghana launched the Year of Return campaign in 2019, inviting descendants of enslaved Africans to reconnect and even gain citizenship. Rwanda created investment visas for African American entrepreneurs. Nigeria offered tax breaks for diaspora tech startups. These weren't symbolic gestures, they were strategic partnerships. Africa realized its most valuable resource wasn't just minerals or oil, it was people. Skilled, educated, globally connected people eager to build. And so began the Great Return. From Atlanta to Accra, Black Americans are investing in schools, farms, film studios, and fintech startups. Some call it migration. Others call it healing. In interviews, returnees say the same thing. In Africa, I feel seen. I feel safe. I feel free. This is about dignity and ownership. Here, Black excellence isn't the exception. It's the norm. The numbers are staggering. Collectively, African Americans control over $1.6 trillion in annual spending power. Even a fraction of that redirected toward Africa means transformation. In Ghana alone, diaspora investment has pumped more than $4 billion into real estate, tourism, and startups since 2020. Nigeria's tech sector now includes dozens of African American founders. Kenya's creative industries are drawing Hollywood producers searching for new voices. Governments are responding with open arms policies, dual citizenship programs, land ownership incentives, tax-free zones for diaspora businesses. Meanwhile, Western outlets are asking, why are so many leaving the richest country on earth? The answer is simple: quality of life. In cities like Kigali and Accra, people report lower stress, stronger community, and growing opportunity. The cost of living is half that of Los Angeles or New York. And with Africa's economy projected to reach $29 trillion by 2050, the potential is immense. This migration is rewriting identity itself. For centuries, the African diaspora was defined by separation, a history of loss. Now, that story is being rewritten as reconnection. Returnees describe Africa not just as an escape, but as a reconciling. They're opening schools that teach Pan-African history, launching tech hubs that employ locals, and creating bridges between Black America and the continent. It's a cultural feedback loop. Hip-hop artists recording in Nairobi, chefs blending Southern and West African cuisine, filmmakers telling stories that unite both worlds. The psychological impact is deep. Where once home was complicated, it now feels real, tangible. And this rediscovery of identity is fueling an entirely new movement of self-definition, pride, and purpose. This is bigger than migration. It's a realignment. As global power shifts east and south, Africa's youth and its diaspora form the largest cultural and economic bloc on the planet. Africans at home and abroad are redefining innovation, politics, and art. U.S. policymakers are taking notice. What was once dismissed as a niche cultural trend is now an economic factor shaping trade, diplomacy, and tech. In Washington, think tanks call it the reverse migration phenomenon. But in Africa, they call it something simpler: homecoming. Every era has its defining movement. For centuries, the world watched Africans taken from their land. Today, it watches their descendants return, not in chains, but in choice. This is more than relocation, it's reclamation. Reclaiming identity, reclaiming power, reclaiming the future. As one returnee in Accra said, "My ancestors dreamed of freedom. I found it here. And maybe, just maybe, this wave of return is not the end of a story, but the beginning of a new one."